Hello and welcome to Chapter 7, a PowerPoint presentation, which will be on ambulatory care. This module basically defines ambulatory care and discusses the role private medical office practices play in the ambulatory care system. We will discuss the core functions of what is known as a patient-centered medical home, explain the accountable care organization in concept and the model of accountable care organizations. The module will also describe and discuss key aspects of the integrated ambulatory care models and the evolution and rise of ambulatory care services in hospitals and freestanding facilities. Lastly, the chapter will explain the role of telehealth and how it has risen in light of what is occurring now with the pandemic and how it really has taken a front seat in the provision of ambulatory care services. As I'm sure many of you are already aware, that ambulatory care is an outpatient service that does not require overnight hospitalization. New technological advancements allow medical and diagnostic procedures previously requiring hospitalization or to be performed in a hospital can now be performed on an outpatient basis, primarily in ambulatory settings. The patient-centered medical home is responsible for the provision of preventive services, treatment of acute and chronic illness, and assistance with end-of-life issues. When we talk about telehealth as it relates to ambulatory care, it really bridges the patient's contact with physicians at their offices or institutions, or even at a patient's residence. The benefits of telehealth from a population health perspective include providing care in locations where really none exist or are limited, such as rural and outer suburban areas, or connecting homebound patients to physician consultations. Ambulatory care serves as an important subsystem and care domain in our health system. In this model, patients have the opportunity to access services at what are called different touch points or intervals. In the context of a systems thinking approach, these touch points would be referred to as care domains, as illustrated in Figure 7.1. Over the last decade, we've seen a real shift towards ambulatory services and out of the inpatient setting. And that's happened for a variety of reasons. One being the technological advances that have moved many diagnostic services from being hospital-based to a variety of ambulatory settings. In the late 1980s, with the creation of DRGs, Medicare moved reimbursement from a retrospective system to a prospective system, and essentially provided financial incentives to increase service delivery efficiency. Hospitals responded by moving appropriate health services to the outpatient setting. Some were still located in the hospital but designated as outpatient. Others were actually moved physically out of the hospital and into freestanding facilities. This shift led to the expansion of managed care. The goal of providing services in the least expensive and more efficient manner empowered managed care organizations to exert more influence in using ambulatory services to replace more expensive inpatient care. With this shift towards the outpatient setting, we've seen a rapid expansion of ambulatory services. I think if you look at it historically, hospitals controlled all ambulatory or outpatient services within their buildings or on their campuses. In some cases, unused inpatient capacity was converted into ambulatory space. This would provide a cost-effective way to use existing space and also how they utilized existing personnel. So you had also increasing demand, consumer demand, for more convenient access to outpatient services, which led to hospitals to strategically place ambulatory centers off campus. Urban hospitals also recognized that due to competition, the need to expand their service distribution network became a necessity. They discovered that ambulatory centers and outpatient clinics was a way to maintain and expand market share and really bring the level of service and healthcare delivery to the neighborhood, if you will, or to a local community and closer to the patient. Hospitals also acknowledged that ambulatory services such as surgery centers operated more efficiently and were more cost effective in the long run. In looking at figure 7.2, you can see that private physician offices of practice are the predominant mode of ambulatory care in the United States. In 2016, which is the most recent data available, patients made 883 million visits to physician offices. Over 50% of these visits were made to primary care offices. 26.5% were made to medical specialists such as dermatology, urology, etc., and 18.9% were made to surgical specialists such as orthopedics and general surgery. When looking at traditional ambulatory care models, they basically consisted of providers being reimbursed on what's called a piecemeal basis or fee-for-service basis for the services they rendered. Such reimbursement methods promoted high volume use of diagnostics. There was no compensation to incentivize efforts to coordinate care on behalf of a patient's needs, and really no method to aggregate information related to patient outcomes. Models were what was called service-focused rather than patient or outcome-focused. The ACA, the Affordable Care Act, and MACRA, which stands for Medicare Access and CHIP Reauthorization Act, began the process of integrating the practice of medicine in both the physician office and ambulatory clinics. This included reforms that made patient outcomes, rather than the number of services provided, the focus. They tied reimbursement to such outcomes and incentivized the provider to look at that type of approach when treating patients. A fairly recent term that has entered the healthcare lexicon is what's known as the patient-centered medical home. This is essentially a team-based model of care led by a personal physician who is charged with providing continuous and coordinated care throughout a given patient's life. The goal is to maximize health outcomes. The PCMH is responsible for all of the healthcare needs of an individual. The physician manages the preventive care, treatment of acute and chronic illness, and assists with end-of-life issues. The PCMH serves as the gatekeeper when it comes to arranging a patient's care with other health specialty professionals. Although the concept of a PCMH has been in existence in the pediatric arena since 1967, it has only recently gained prominence with primary care physicians. As illustrated by figure 7.3, the 5 core principles of PCMH are patient-centered, comprehensive, coordinated, accessible, and committed to quality and safety. If you look at pages 216 to 217 in the text, that will provide you a greater detail of these individual principles. A key component of the Affordable Care Act is what's been identified as Accountable Care Organizations, or ACOs, which is part of the Medicare Shared Savings Program. An ACO is a network of doctors and hospitals that collaborate to coordinate the medical care of patients to limit unnecessary spending, as illustrated in figure 7.4. Such collaboration includes the sharing of both the financial and medical responsibility of providing such care. In essence, they both have skin in the game to hopefully obtain the desired outcomes. A cornerstone of the ACO is the primary care physician as a key part of the PCMH. Timely and appropriate care and the avoidance of unnecessary service duplication, medical emergencies, and hospitalizations are the goals of ACOs. This slide provides what is called the structure and responsibilities of an ACO. As you can see, it's legally constituted within the state and has a governing board. Most ACOs are responsible for at least 5,000 Medicare patients for a period of 3 years. To qualify as an ACO, you must meet established quality measures in care appropriateness, coordination, timeliness, and safety. Provider participation is voluntary. Patients also have the option of opting out of an ACO network. Payment structure combined fee for service with shared savings and bonus payments linked to quality performance standards. And ACOs shift reimbursement toward value-based models that utilize a bundle payment approach. This is a model that ties payment to quality and outcomes versus volume, and reimbursement is based on bundling a number of services basically together rather than reimbursing one service at a time, such as the fee-for-service model. Federally qualified health centers were part of the Johnson administration in the War on Poverty initiative. The FQHCs, as they're commonly called, only recently became kind of back in vogue, if you will, and they are organized in several ways but must comply with federal requirements. As you can see by these 4 bullets, talk about serving medically underserved populations, provide appropriate necessary services with fees adjusted on patients' ability to pay. They have to demonstrate sound clinical and financial management, as well as be governed by a board, a majority of which includes health center patients. The emphasis is on coordinating comprehensive care and looking at a reduction in health disparities for low-income individuals. They also are staffed by multidisciplinary teams of doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, social workers, and the like. They provide a full range of primary care and preventive services, including pediatrics and obstetrics. And they offer testing services such as lab and radiology, as well as pharmacy if appropriate. In the last 20 years, the growth of FQHCs has nearly tripled, and most recent data shown in figures 7.6 indicates 28.6 million patient encounters at such centers in 2020. Figure 7.7, which is supplied by the Health Resources and Services Administration, basically provides a statistical breakdown of patient characteristics seen by federally qualified health centers. On its surface, this slide can appear very confusing, but Figure 7.8 provides a good indication of how public health can also serve as an ambulatory care model. As you will note, it is a vast and complex network with the public health agency at its center, but reaches far and wide and encompasses a variety of ambulatory services which provide the health needs for our local community. It ranges across a spectrum from prevention-oriented programs to a full suite of personal health services offered through ambulatory care centers. Typically, the funding for such services is derived from city, county, and state sources, and has also relied on federal grants to support its mission. Here ends the presentation for ambulatory services. Thank you.